Speaking about Bernstein, he was there at Tanglewood very much in the early days, teaching conducting, and he was a Baldwin artist, and so we invited him for a meal at the Curtis House in Lenox, and he came, and we asked him what he would like to eat, and he wanted steak tartare, which, as you probably know, it isn't served anymore, I guess, but it was raw meat, and so he said he wanted to talk to the chef, so we called the chef out, and he told him exactly how he wanted it, and he wanted 2 eggs instead of 1, and he didn't want this, and he didn't want that, and so he got his steak tartare made to order, and then he wanted to go down and see the show down at, not a musical show, but a show down at the Playhouse in Lee. And so he drove Phoebe and I drove alone, and he drove about 80 miles an hour down this twisty-turny road from Lexington to Lee, and gave Phoebe a great thrill, both because she was with Leonard Bernstein and because she almost got killed in the trip. But it was safe and everything went okay. And then early on in our experience in Tanglewood, they were putting Boris Goldovsky, who was a Baldwin artist, and the nephew of Pierre and Zhenya Lubashutz, who were both Baldwin artists, and the son of Leon Lubashutz, who was head of violin at Curtis Institute. Boris Goldovsky was conducting a Strauss opera named Ariadne auf Naxos, and I'm a great lover of Strauss, and I thought, boy, this will be great. Ariadne auf Naxos was one of the stiffest or unactable operas that I've ever seen. There's a lot of screeching and screaming and a very small orchestra. Of course, I like a big orchestra. But anyway, they put it on, and then afterwards Phoebe and I were host and hostess at a party at the place called the Log Cabin Inn, and we had all the Russian connection as our guests. And they were all there, and they all spoke Russian together. And finally I said to Boris, I said, this really was a beautiful performance. And Boris said, and all the Russian skis nodded their heads, and Boris sat back and puffed out his chest. He said, well, if I do say so, it was spectacular, fabulous, just like the old days in Moscow. Phoebe and I got a big laugh after that party, and that's the end of that story.